Hey, it's Natalie from Natalia Style, and this is my channel where I like to talk about all things fashion and lifestyle. So today I wanted to share an overview of the downfall of Nordstrom in Canada, as well as my thoughts on the actual retail experience and what I predict might take over those leases. Now, for the TLDR, Nordstrom is going to be accepting returns until March 17th, and we don't expect their liquidation process to start until about March 20th. That's when they have their court date, and that liquidation process is expected to run from March 20th until they close up all of their stores in June. So this kind of gives you a bit of a shopping window, and I wouldn't really rush to Nordstrom just yet unless you have notes to spend or returns to make. We're not really going to see any of those discounts until the liquidation process starts towards the end of this month. Now, the website's actually already down. It was announced last Thursday that Nordstrom Canada was shutting down, and that website shut down at midnight, so they didn't even give like a couple days grace period. And I actually went on the website and I felt like a lot of stuff really wasn't up to date. There were a lot of like sizes missing, like things available in only 1 or 2 sizes. So I think they were gearing down already, and I was thinking of placing one last order through, but I thought it really didn't make sense because I didn't know what their shipping process was going to be like, whether it'd be, really overflowing. So I figure I might as well just go in store. I do have to make one more return, and then I'll go for the liquidation process as well. Now, I kind of wanted to make this video kind of as an overview about the downfall, my thoughts, and my predictions. So we're going to start first with a little bit of an overview of Nordstrom in Canada. If you see me looking over the side, I do have some notes just to kind of keep me on track. So back in 2014, Nordstrom opened their first store in Calgary. Now, this was followed by an opening in Ottawa, which I did attend. I believe it opened in 2015 at the Eaton Centre. Now, that store opening was super exciting since I was in law school from 2014 to 2017, and Holt Renfrew actually shut down in Ottawa as well. So that kind of was like a precursor to kind of say that maybe luxury retail just did not work for the Ottawa market. Now, Nordstrom Canada actually took over the old Sears space and transformed it into this chic oasis. Now, I felt like there just wasn't like a huge fashion community within Ottawa, and at that same time, I felt like my blog and social media presence was growing, and I was getting a lot of opportunities that I was going back to Toronto for quite a bit throughout law school, and I felt like there was a little bit of a mismatch. So when Nordstrom Canada opened, it was super exciting. I really enjoyed going there. The selection wasn't as good as it was in Toronto. Obviously, it was more geared towards the Ottawa market, but it was still very, very good. I spent many polar vortex afternoons shopping for clothes and beauty items there. So in 2016, they actually opened in Toronto, and I had the opportunity as a blogger to work with Nordstrom Canada and to promote their Nordstrom Gala. Now, this was really cool because they actually charged tickets for entry, but donated 100% of those proceeds to a local charity. It was a gorgeous party. I had a lot of fun there. There were celebrities, fashion heavyweights, the mayor was in attendance. It was just really great. I also had a chance to get a tour of their extensive beauty counter as well as their fashion offerings. Now, the Nordstrom Canada beauty counter was very unique, and I think it influenced and kind of made Holt Renfrew step up their game, and they kind of set the stage for Saks to open in Canada as well. I really like that they were generous with samples. Now, I've heard some intel that apparently might not always be the best thing, that they were very overly generous, but it does kind of build brand loyalty because you can try the products first, you can sample a perfume, see if it's right for you, and then you can go back and shop in store. I guess they might have lost a bit of customer conversion in that you might sample something and purchase it online instead of going back in store in person. So maybe that was kind of an issue there. Now, Nordstrom Rack also opened in Canada. It followed a couple years after the Toronto Nordstrom openings, and I often shopped at the Bloor and Vaughan Mills locations. I thought that Nordstrom Rack in Canada was a tad messy. They had a lot of more entry-level and made-for-outlet items, like, kind of diffusion lines and like lesser quality things, but they did have some great pieces. I found the menswear department was pretty good. I never really got lucky in scoring designer items, and this is probably because my shoe size, being an 8.5, is one of the most common, as well as my dress size is pretty average as well. Over the years, I really enjoyed shopping at Nordstrom Eaton Centre and Yorkdale for workwear, casual, and designer items. I liked that their stores were a bit more curated compared to the endless racks upon racks you'd find at the Bay. Nordstrom just really had great sales and markdowns on popular items. I got my Gucci loafers, my Valentino Rockstud shoes, even my Manolo Blahnik Hangisi pumps. They were all 30 to 60% off. And overall, I really like that you could just walk in, buy a $20 t-shirt and still be treated well. Like I know some people say that the salespeople were kind of follow you around or pushy, but I thought it was more of a friendly experience. And maybe that's just the way I am, my personality. I like to chit chat. I like to kind of make friends in that way. I really like the sales associates at Nordstrom because I find them very helpful. You know, if there's other sizes, they can help you locate it at another location. They can order it to a store, ship it to you. Never any issues with that. I've always found the customer service to be really good. And you kind of felt like you were part of this Nordstrom family. I would often have texts with a couple sales associates that would help me look for things, either in the shoe department. My SA for a long time, she's now at Holt Renfrew, Yorkdale. She was wonderful and she got me a lot of my favorite shoes over the years. So that connection I'm really gonna miss with sales associates. Now, Nordstrom also had a really strong membership program without signing up for any store credit cards. So you could collect points to get cash to use on items. And I often use double and triple and sometimes even 10 points days to purchase larger ticket items, and I redeemed notes all the time. Now, as an FYI, Nordstrom is still letting you use your notes throughout the liquidation process, but you can no longer earn points towards obtaining more notes. And I was actually really close to another $20 note reward. Kind of sucks. If I had any inclination this was gonna happen, I would have tried to purchase, you know, just basics like, you know, jeans or a new pair of sneakers, running shoes, just to make up that $20 note, just to have a little bit more to spend. But I do have about $80 in notes that I'm gonna have to just figure out something to purchase them with, maybe a new pair of sandals for spring. So their friendly and hassle-free customer service is probably the biggest thing I will miss about shopping with them. I really hope that Nordstrom will open up in Buffalo so that I can purchase higher end items from there with that built-in insurance policy. And I think for me, that's the biggest thing I'm gonna miss, is that Nordstrom had such a generous return policy where if you had an item that was defective or just didn't work for you, or sometimes you purchase something, you leave the tags on and you realize this isn't for you, it's fine, they will take it back. And I just thought that was, it's just not something that exists anymore. Sephora used to be like that. They're not anymore in Canada. You only have 3 months, but even a 3-month return policy is pretty good. Holt Renfrew, the Bay, they're all 30 days. So it kind of, I mean, I'm a busy person. Sometimes if I'm in the middle of a hearing, things can get a little out of hand and I don't have time to go back to them all. So I really liked that they had that kind of generous return policy, and also that they really stood behind their products. I think a lot of department stores just kind of buy into what's trendy, and you have products that break, you have products that fall apart and like completely defective. And I really liked that Nordstrom would take these items back. Basically no questions asked, and I'm definitely gonna miss that because it was like buying insurance on luxury goods, and it's really too bad. It's really too bad. If you are in the States watching this, if you are considering purchasing a handbag, a pair of sneakers, you know, something that you expect to get a lot of use, but you're not sure about the quality, definitely purchase it from Nordstrom. They will take care of you. And I think the items that they stock in their stores are kind of road tested for that anyways. So now I'm going to get into my 3 theories for why I think Nordstrom Canada could not last in Canada. So first, I think that Nordstrom Canada's messaging just did not work for Canadians. Their ads were very colorful and at times a bit avant-garde. Now, even though Nordstrom stocked casual and accessible brands like Madewell, Topshop, Citizens for Humanity, Nike, most of the ads you see on billboards or bus stops were very luxurious and kind of artistic. Now, even their anniversary sale needed a bit more direct encouragement just to show consumers, you know, that they could get accessible items for the upcoming season at a lower price. I thought that was a very unique sales strategy, that you're actually buying for the fall season ahead in summer and not getting, you know, last season's merchandise on sale. I just really think they relied too much on the Nordstrom name and cachet from the States without realizing that Canadians might not be familiar at all with their retail experience and offerings. Now, what goes into this as well is the fact that they only opened up their online store in like 2020 or 2021. I actually did a YouTube video about ordering from Nordstrom.ca. I was super excited about it. And I think that online experience just wasn't very good. It wasn't as curated as the in-store experience. And I found that their ads ads were a little bit all over the place. So I think they definitely needed to kind of support their PR and messaging strategy to kind of show that they're very one-stop shop for, you know, the working professional, for kids, for, you know, gifts for your husband, like just a really great place to shop for high quality, but at times also accessible items as well. Now, the second reason why I think Nordstrom did not survive in Canada, and this is a reason a lot of people claim to state, is that, you know, Canada has really high import duties. We also have a weak dollar, which results in what people think as higher prices. So I'll give you an example of a Tory Burch bag that might be only $200 at Nordstrom Seattle. By the time you have 13% HST, a 17% import duty, and 30% added with the weak Canadian dollar, that bag is now 343 Canadian dollars. It costs more to buy things in Canada, so that brings an attainable item into a level that someone can't just purchase immediately or on impulse. It makes everything more expensive. You know, even Madewell in the States is a lot more affordable. You know, jeans are under $100. Here they're pushing $150, $160, $180. It brings that more accessible price point into something more ultra luxury or, you know, entry-level luxury that not a lot of Canadians can afford right now. Obviously, I'm not going to get into it too much, but Canada has a very high cost of living right now, especially in the GTA with housing, both in rent, mortgages, and house prices just skyrocketing, inflation. Our cost of food is just, it's wild right now. And I think a lot of people have been cutting back. I myself have been shopping a lot more consignment, a lot more pre-loved, a lot more intentional shopping. And this kind of all converged into this one kind of bad mess. And then add on the pandemic into this, it was just the perfect storm. So I think a lot of the pricing issues and also kind of what Canadians think of as accessible, we have a lot less disposable income and purchasing power than the States. I think that was kind of a bit of a perfect storm just from a numbers aspect. Now, my third theory on why Nordstrom did not last in Canada is that department stores are no longer relevant. Now, I loved Nordstrom's curated products that were at times either timeless or trendy. It's just a fact now that the department store is no longer a de facto curator. Bloggers, Pinterest, Instagram, and celebrity culture is now the curator for many people, and you can click to shop directly from these apps. Every brand is working with influencers to share discount codes to keep the purchase line more direct and also build that brand loyalty as well. In the past couple of years, I've gotten pretty loyal shopping with direct-to-consumer brands like Cezanne and Hill House Home, and I see these kind of companies getting even bigger and more added into the mix. There is no need to put up a shop in a department store, since people will already just flock to their website or a native pop-up event in a local area without the help and also the cost of getting their name into a big name department store. So other people have blamed Nordstrom's generous return policy, as in the fact that it's unlimited, but I don't think this was actually their downfall. The products were already very high quality, and this policy has been in place in the US for decades. I also think it's what sets Nordstrom apart over their competition in other department stores, and I also think it builds customer loyalty. Now, onto my predictions as to what's going to happen to those large retail spaces. I'm going to focus mainly on the GTA since I'm not really familiar with retail in Vancouver or Calgary. Now, both Nordstrom Eaton Centre and Nordstrom Yorkdale are massive 3-level spaces. Nordstrom Yorkdale even had a dedicated valet and parking areas, and they were both outfitted with restaurants, cafes, and amenities in store like tailoring and large change rooms. Now, I really wish that Simons would finally make a foray into Toronto with either a Yorkdale or an Eaton Centre location. For me, I think they might go into Eaton Centre over Yorkdale because there's less department store competition with only the Bay and Saks versus having both the Bay and Holt Renfrew at Yorkdale. I also think this location would give them a little bit more exposure to tourism in the area downtown, and the Eaton Centre store would be geographically further away from their Simons location in Mississauga. However, I might be wrong about this since Simons is already located in an Oxford Properties mall, which is Square One, so they might stick with that and open up in Yorkdale. Where I also could see a Simons moving into in Toronto is the Nordstrom Rack space at One Bloor. I think the store might suit them better and it would definitely fill a void where the Bay left across the road and kind of provide a more mid-range shopping option that would serve both downtown and midtown customers, as well as tourists that are, you know, visiting Yorkville and the Mink Mile. Now, I'm really hopeful that Toronto will get at least one Simons store with this whole retail shuffle. I'm gonna burst your bubble a little bit. I do not think that Simons will take over Nordstrom, Eaton Centre, or Yorkdale. Simons is a very similar kind of retail experience to Nordstrom, including, you know, having house brands at entry-level prices and higher-end designer offerings. These stores already didn't work in those locations, so I don't know why they might risk setting up only to fail again. So that's why I think my prediction is that Simons is gonna take over the Nordstrom Rack space at One Bloor. Maybe Vaughan Mills, maybe they'll, you know, move up into Vaughan, we'll see. But I think that's kind of where I could see them definitely opening up shop. So I shared this prediction in my Instagram stories and I got a lot of replies and people thought that I might be onto something. I am predicting the arrival of Primark into Canada. Now, I did not know this, but the Weston family actually owns a majority stake in Primark, which has stores all over Europe and several in the United States. I also know that Primark is opening a store in the Walden Galleria Mall in Buffalo, and they also announced another location at the Florida Mall in Orlando, and these are kind of areas that a lot of GTA tourists tend to frequent quite often in the US. So I see that Primark is increasing their retail presence in the East Coast, and I'm sure they're eyeing Canada next. I think that Canada is actually a very captive market for an expansion. It's a sad reality, but Canadians love their fast fashion. Think of the success of Old Navy, Joe Fresh, and Walmart clothing. I think these are clothes that offer rock bottom pricing for very trendy and in fashion styles. It's also a combination that Canadians cannot resist. I could easily see Primark taking over the 3-level spaces in both Yorkdale and Eaton Centre. Too much fanfare. I think, honestly, I'm putting my money on at least one of them becoming a Primark, the first Primark in Canada. My other prediction for Nordstrom Yorkdale in particular is a very high-end Loblaws. I know that sounds a bit crazy to buy groceries at a luxury shopping mall, but you can already do that at the Saks Food Hall in Sherway Gardens with Pusateri's. And also, if you look at old Yorkdale mall maps, there used to be a Dominion in that location. One thing to consider is that the area around Yorkdale is getting increasingly more residential, and I think it would make sense for like a mid to high-end grocer to move into the space. The only real grocery store in the area is actually a Costco, and that is north of the 401. There's a huge freeway, and you also need a membership to shop there. I also think that having a grocery store at Yorkdale would be a big draw to actually get people into the mall on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, which in the end is great for the mall because it makes them spend more money in the end. I would also not be surprised if we got a luxury Shoppers Drug Mart on the first level and then 2 floors of a luxury Loblaws above with all sorts of food stations, produce, specialty items, maybe something a little bit more along the lines of Eataly. Even better would be a second Eataly location, but I think maybe that retail footprint might be a little bit too big or too ambitious unless they really make it into this huge kind of restaurant environment. Anyway, so those are my predictions for now. Either a grocery store in Yorkdale, the first Primark location, or perhaps we get lucky and we get a Simons to kind of fill that kind of accessible luxury workwear, you know, shop for the whole family kind of vibe. I think that would probably be my preference if I had to choose between the 3, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm really curious what's gonna fill the void in those leases, and as well the GTA retail market in general. So overall, I'm really sad about losing Nordstrom in Canada. I felt really good shopping there, and I'll definitely miss their customer service as well as their products that cater to a specific consumer like me. I'm definitely gonna shift my shopping habits to more online and direct-to-consumer brands, or I might just wait to do my shopping once or twice a year when I travel. Above all, I feel very sad for the Nordstrom team members who have lost their jobs, and I really hope that they land in great positions, either in retail or marketing or fashion and beyond, just going forward. I thought that they had a really great team, especially at Nordstrom Eaton Centre, so I only wish them all the best, and I hope that this transition treats them well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. These are honestly just my kind of off-the-cuff thoughts. They're not really any professional, you know, planning or retail real estate opinions. They're just, you know, what I experienced as a shopper and kind of a little bit of my insight working as a blogger for the brand. I really wish that, you know, they made a stronger go of it. I really wish they found a way maybe just to scale back their stores from 7 full-line stores to maybe just 1 in Toronto. I think, you know, maybe 3 was a bit more than they needed in the GTA, but it really is too bad. I also am really hopeful that Nordstrom.com will still be able to support shipping items to Canada, or they might be like Target and just say, sorry, we're done with you. Did not treat us well. We don't really care about the Canadian consumer. That might be an option as well. We're gonna have to see how that plays out. But obviously I do have my workaround. I do like using Shipsy to shop US retailers to ship to this ship forwarding service. It's very inexpensive to use, and I will leave a link to that blog post in the description box below in case you're interested in shopping at Target online. It is my hack for getting Target into Canada. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can check out more on my website, nataliastyleblog.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at natalias for more fashion content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.